Hello and welcome to a new approach to this channel that is thrown in the deep. I'm your host Abhinav Kumar. Hi, and excuse my cold if it happens. I can't help it. Uh, Getting to the point, we are going to discuss the cardiac cycle and the associated sounds and murmurs that you can hear during a cardiac cycle. So the rest of the stuff about how my channel is going to progress in the future, etc., is going to come after the video. So stay tuned. Now let me just change. Yes. So what you see in front of you is, let's assume this is a cardiac cycle, the full circle. This will, at the top, we will call this S1. Hang on. So this is S1. All right. So this is we are going to consider from this point, okay? And this will be S2. All right. So now first come now these three lines we are going to discuss in a while. This one is practically useless, but it will help. So this out here are the clicks, and these out here are the snaps. Now, what are clicks and what are snaps? Clicks are when the aortic and pulmonary valve open. Aortic and pulmonary valve open. And snaps are when the mitral and tricuspid valve open. All right, so let's just let's just cement the theory. So F1 is clearly the. Let me just write this as well. This is the closing of M and T. You can't see it, but you pretty much know, right? So mitral and tricuspid valves, they close because the moment the ventricle contracts, the mitral and tricuspid close, right? And there is an isovolumetric contraction period, after which the aortic and pulmonary valves open and the blood gushes out. Yeah, so that's perfect. S1, then that's S1, then followed by aortic and pulmonary valve opening. Then after a while, when the heart contraction, if like systolic period is complete, it starts to relax, and then first S2 is heard. What is the S2 sound? It is the closing of aortic and pulmonary valve. Closing of A and P valves. It closed. Now, as it enters the diastolic period, the blood needs to enter from the atrium. From the atrium, it needs to enter the ventricle. Yeah. So this is where this opening is called the snap. When the mitral and tricuspid valves open for the blood to drain from the atrium to the ventricle. Okay. Good. Now, go away. Yes. So now we are going to discuss the murmurs, like in exquisite detail. So now, first we are going to discuss the ejection systolic murmurs, which happened right at the very beginning. So I'm going to use this color for the murmurs in the systolic period. Let's just scribble out here. Yeah, this is how long the murmur is supposed to last. We'll call this. Okay, yeah. So this is the early systolic murmur. This is the mid systolic murmur, and this is the late systolic murmur. Yeah. So after S2, we enter diastole. So this is a late systolic murmur. Okay. So we are going to label them as such. This is the ESM, early systolic murmur, mid systolic murmur, late systolic murmur. Now, for each of these, we are going to give some examples. Yeah. Early systolic murmur. They will be ventricular septal defect. So, like if it is a small muscular defect, or it could be acute severe MR, mitral regurgitation, or it could be acute severe tricuspid regurgitation. So now imagine, so the moment the heart starts contracting, and if there is a ventricular septal defect, the blood will leak right at the very beginning, like across the septum. So that will cause an early systolic murmur. Yeah, and if there is a mitral valve, or let me just get this diagram back in. So the moment it starts contracting, if there's severe regurgitation, immediately when the heart starts to contract, the blood will gush back into either the mitral valve or the tricuspid valve. So that will produce early systolic murmur. Yeah. Similarly, we have some murmurs which happen in the mid systole. They are the aortic stenosis murmur, or the pulmonary stenosis murmur, or the HOCM murmur. So this is hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy. So aortic stenosis. Yeah, the job of systole is to pump the blood into the this is the aorta, and this is the pulmonary artery. Yeah? So the job of systole is to pump them out. But if there is any stenosis of the valve here, it's going to produce a murmur during the mid-systolic period. Okay, same for pulmonary stenosis. On the other side, if the pulmonary artery is stenosed, HOCM is a bit complicated. Just remember that it also produces murmurs in the mid-systolic period. Now discussing late systolic period. Towards the end, you can have potential murmurs like mitral valve prolapse, or it could be tricuspid valve prolapse, or it could be some papillary dysfunction. So yeah, as you come to the late systolic murmur, towards the very end, like everything went well, these valves are like the mitral and tricuspid valves are closed during the systolic period, but towards the end, they manage the valves cannot hold their position any longer, and they give way into the atrium. So that causes a prolapse, and that produces a late systolic murmur. Okay, late systolic murmur. So that you will experience here. Now, there can also be pansystolic murmurs. Yeah, so this is the duration of systole. So we are going to have a full duration murmur, pansystolic murmur, also called holosystolic. Holosystolic. Oh no, some of the text is about to get covered by my face. So holosystolic murmur in this area. We'll tackle it. Okay, so holosystolic murmurs. What can we have here? So there can be mitral regurgitation, or there can be tricuspid regurgitation, or there can be ventricular septal defect large. If there is a large ventricular septal defect, from the starting itself will start leaking. Okay, and acute severe mitral regurgitation and acute severe tricuspid regurgitation, if they start in the beginning, sometimes if they are extremely severe, you don't get to hear the murmur afterwards. But if they are just in a moderate amount, then the murmur can last the entire duration. If they are extremely severe, they are heard in the early systolic part, and most of the the sound is picked up during the early systolic period. But in most of the cases, the regurgitation lasts the entire duration of systole. Okay, so now let me just so everything will be clear in the lower section now. Now we are going to discuss the diastolic period. Yeah, now we are entering the diastole. Similarly, diastole YD. Now we go to, these are the snaps done. Let me pick up a color that indicates venous. So this will be like the diastole starts here, right? Diastole starts here, ends here. You know, diastole is longer than systole. So during diastole, we can have an early diastolic murmur, a mid diastolic murmur, or a late diastolic murmur. If this is the direction of the cycle, diastole, like even systole was this way. So early, now I'll take a color to represent this. Again, let me pick up a new color. No. Okay. Oh, this is a pencil. I don't like it. Okay, whatever. So yeah, this is the early diastolic murmur. Oh no, why green? Early, I'm so sorry, guys. This is my first video. I'm still getting used to it. These things will improve with time. Have faith. Early diastolic murmur, or it might not even be visible. Let me choose a bright color. Yeah. I'm just going to keep this in. Early diastolic murmur, mid mid diastolic murmur, and late diastolic murmur. So now let's begin with the early diastolic murmur. What can we have here? So the moment diastole starts, the heart, the atrial and the aortic and pulmonary valves, they might not be able to hold, right? See, the entire during the systole, we push the blood up into the aorta and pulmonary artery. We pushed the blood, but the moment diastole started and the pushing pressure was like removed from was stopped. Now the valves are supposed to hold the blood in, and the blood is supposed to only travel outwards, yeah, forward, out of the heart. But if there is a failure of these valves right at the very beginning itself, the early diastolic murmurs will be due to the aortic regurgitation or the pulmonary regurgitation. Yeah, so that will be early. Now for mid diastolic, we have multiple causes. Most common of them will be mitral stenosis, tricuspid stenosis. Apply the same logic as aortic stenosis and pulmonary stenosis. So now the job is for the atria to push the blood into the ventricle, but atria will face a resistance by their very own valves. So the stenosed valve will not allow the blood from atrium to enter the ventricle. So that will produce a murmur in the mid diastolic period. So this will be two of the reasons. Similarly, on this side you have the tricuspid uh, valve causing the same issue with its stenosis. Other murmurs, I'll just give you the names: Carey Coomb murmur. Then you have Austin Flint murmur. Then you have low mid diastolic murmur. Then you have atrial myxoma. But atrial myxoma can be later on also. Depends on the myxoma. It's quite unpredictable in that way. But it's going to be in diastole itself. Because atrial myxoma are, if atrial myxoma is going to be here, then during systole, when the atria is trying to push blood, that's when the myxoma will cause hindrance. During systole, it's perfectly all right for the blood to go from the ventricle up into the arteries. But during diastole, when the blood has to move from atria to the ventricle, myxoma will get in the way. So it can be in the mid diastolic or the late diastolic period. Now coming up, these are some of the examples in the mid diastolic. Now moving up to late diastolic, again we can have late diastolic. Wait, why did I move it here? Late diastolic should go all the way to the end, till the end. Yeah. So wrong color. So for late diastolic murmur, we can have things like mitral stenosis, tricuspid stenosis, wrong color guys, sorry, and atrial myxoma again. Mitral stenosis and tricuspid stenosis, you get the reason, because they just continue from the they can be in the mid diastole and they can persist all the way up to late diastole. So you get the names again. And myxoma, as usual, is the same. We already talked about it. So yeah, now this is more or less done, but we still have one ultimate murmur which lasts during the entire cardiac cycle. It's called a continuous murmur. So what could be a possible cause for a continuous murmur? We can have patent ductus arteriosus, and we can have coarctation of aorta. So these two causes will have persistent murmur throughout the cardiac cycle. And so while we are already discussing this, let's just try positioning S1 and S2 are already done. Let's just try positioning S3 and S4. So just for like a completion sake, we already know where they'll go. So S3 will be somewhere in the mid diastole, and S4 will be in the late diastole. S4. And I guess that's it. I hope you followed along with me because it's hard to note down from this completed mess. Uh, when you follow along, you can draw as I go ahead with my drawing itself. So yeah, this is the diagram, guys, and let me have a look. Let's see if it's complete. Perfect. All right, so we'll discuss 1-2 questions with regards to this. Quite easy ones, but they really open up your concepts with questions that you might face in exams like PLAB, etc. So let's say you have a pansystolic murmur. Okay. Now, what are the causes of pansystolic murmur you can have? You can have mitral regurgitation, tricuspid regurgitation, or ventricular septal defect. Now, what might it be? If it is, let's just add on the twist that it's in a baby. So we are thinking whether it's cyanotic or acyanotic condition. So if it is causing stenosis, then it's going to be tricuspid atresia. Okay, so we haven't covered it here, but these are the conditions we will consider only specifically in questions which say when we are talking about cyanotic versus acyanotic congenital heart defects. So what could be the acyanotic? If we already took out tricuspid atresia, the cyanotic. Remember the 5 T's and 2 E's? 5 T's, 2 E's. So I don't remember off the top of my head, but let's just try. Tricuspid atresia, tricuspid truncus arteriosus, transposition of great arteries, tetralogy of Fallot, and total anomalous pulmonary venous connection. And 2 E's will be Eisenmenger's syndrome and Epstein anomaly. We'll have another video on how each of these looks and appears. So let's just note this for now. These are the congenital, cyanotic heart diseases. We are going outside the scope of the video, but okay. Yeah. So, and acyanotic cause for this will be for pansystolic murmur, this one will be your VFD. So to differentiate between tricuspid atresia and VFD, what is causing the pansystolic murmur? Because then you can look at whether the child is cyanotic or acyanotic. Similarly, another question will be what if you have ejection systolic murmur? If the baby is cyanotic, then the baby is cyanotic, it's due to pathology of Fallot. Sorry guys, I need to be more thorough with it, but due to pulmonary stenosis. You know, right? In tetralogy of Fallot, you have, let's just discuss this quickly. In tetralogy of Fallot, you have 4 conditions. You have thickening of ventricular septum, ventricular septal defect, sorry. Ventricular septal defect, aorta overriding, VFD, pulmonary stenosis, and we have the right ventricular hypertrophy. So pulmonary stenosis will, of course, if you look at the, if you see that no blood is even going to the lungs, I mean the reduced amount of blood, the baby is going to end up being cyanotic. Alright guys, that's it. Thank you for watching. Now, yeah. So the scenario with this channel is that I have not uploaded a single video in the past 6 years, but I'm planning to change that. Let's just give it a direction. I have recently graduated from my MBBS course, and I'm trying for PLAB. I passed PLAB 1 so far, and yay, congrats. So with PLAB 1 out of the way, I wanted to get ready for, like I have some free time before I get into the academy and prepare for PLAB 2, and then finally end up in UK, hopefully, finger crossed. So let's just begin with these videos, and let's see where it goes. I'm planning to keep this a bit academic, as you can see with the cardiac cycle video. And please guys, if you find any like errors or any mistakes which I made in the video, please let me know. I will correct it in my future videos. And let me know also as well if you like the screen in the black format, or like the black background, the night mode format, or the standard white screen format, because I thought if we keep it black it will be less stressful on the eyes. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it really gave you a nice concept of how to approach cardiac cycle and where to position all the murmurs. So this was new for me when I came across it, but now I just love this concept, and I am hoping to watch my own videos in the future and learn some concepts which I have forgotten with time. Alright, have fun, all the best for your prep.